In camp, the single most important thing is to make sure you put the right officers with the right units. And I was very lucky in this last battle. I didn't have very many losses, and I didn't lose any guns, any artillery. So first thing I do is I check and see what ammo or what I have in my inventory. And you can go down to, I think it's 23, maybe 24 without losing morale. But you don't want to go down so far in reputation that you start losing morale for all of your units. So I could only buy one thing, so I bought rifles. And that's pretty much what I do with reputation. I buy weapons. So I have 3194 people, and this is the only time I need to get everybody from the force pool into the army, because by doing that, I can change the perks on my units if I want to, and I definitely want to. And you only have one opportunity to do that. So the secret to scaling is to keep not just your units small, but to keep the average size of your units small. So I have a pretty good idea what I want to do going into this. I want to keep my units about 600 or 700, and I'm looking at the command line. And if there's any part of your unit card that is red, that means there's something wrong. But there's a hidden debuff if your command line is shorter than your efficiency line. There'll be a hit to efficiency. So you want to make sure your officers have more command than efficiency. And you do that by moving officers into units that have a larger command line if you need it. So that's really good. Having a much larger command line doesn't help your unit performance. It just allows you to have max efficiency. So again, Union infantry starts, well, all of your units start. Your raw recruits start with only 10 efficiency. So your green units are going to be terrible and have to fight for a while before they get their first perk. So I'm going to start with units of 500, and I'm considering what I'm going to build. I think about building Cav, but I don't really need it for this battle, and it's expensive. Cav is inexpensive later on when I have lots of money. I love Cav, but for this battle, I don't have a lot of cash, so I'm going to keep costs down. I was thinking about buying maybe some skirmishers, but again, I don't have many weapons, and it would cost a lot of money. So I'm just going to go in with infantry, and that's perfectly fine for this battle. Going to get, well, let me check, over 6-1 in the next battle. And what I want to do is I want to affect scaling as little as possible, because I'm going to have so many of my troops that are green, and the enemy is going to come in with, you know how it goes. The Confederate Army is going to have 1 stars or 2 stars, maybe even 3 stars. And I don't want to hit the scaling point and drive up a whole bunch of 2-star infantry while I have most of my army has 10 efficiency. So that would be bad. So all I'm doing here is I put in 1,045 into a unit. Second unit is 1,000. That takes all of the men out of my manpower pool. That's great. Now I can disband and reform these units, and I can select the perk that I want. And for my infantry, it's always stamina. When your units run out of stamina, they're out of condition, and yeah, that's bad. For this battle, or for this campaign, what I've decided is, and I've experimented with different things for my artillery, but what I've decided is, on Brigadier General, I don't really need stamina. And stamina is, you build that up just by fighting. And after a couple battles, your artillery has plenty of stamina. Morale is completely worthless. So I'm going to go in with supply because that's something that will be useful the entire campaign. So I'm going to go with supply. Stamina is very handy to have for your artillery in the very early part of, while the unit is brand new. But once you get a perk or two, once you get a perk or once you get some experience, you don't really need it. So what I've I'm kind of looking at the long haul. These are going to be 3-star units. Probably all of these are going to be 3-star units. So what's going to be useful down the line? And for the artillery, it's definitely the thing that's going to be the most useful for the entire campaign is the supply wagon. So I like to fight with infantry that's 600 to 800. I have fought with infantry at 500. It works, it's fine. But I'm just more comfortable at 600. So I'm pushing it up to 600. This will trigger scaling. And I think about rebuilding these guys at only 500. But what I figure is they'll take some losses, and it'll be easy for me to take them up to 800 for the next battle if I want to. And I definitely want to get them to 800 for the next battle. So I go ahead and accept that. I think I was at 5,800 and I've gone to 61. It's not horrible. I'll go ahead and take it. I actually, well, these are not the final numbers. More troops are going to come in, I'm sure. But this is how you think about going to camp and thinking about how to build an army for the next battle. I'm pretty happy with this. I think about increasing the number of guns in my artillery, but I don't need it. A 6-gun battery is perfectly fine. It's going to do very well if used properly. And I'm just looking at the cost. I could increase this to 7. Worth 1,500? I don't think so. And I really don't want to invest money in buying either 6-pounders or 10-pound ord, because those are not mid-game weapons. I'm going to get, I only use those if they're free. So what I like to do is I put everything into supply, because you don't have to use supply. You can turn your supply wagons off. And there's no reason not to just fill up your supply wagon to 35,000. So all my supply wagons will be 35,000 if I can get them there. And then if you don't want to use all the supply, you just turn the supply wagon off, and then it doesn't cost you anything. And this is a perfectly good army. 6-gun batteries are fine. Green units of 600 men. I'd rather have a green unit of 600, 2 of them of 600, than 1 unit of 1,200. The unit of 1,200 would need a better officer because the unit's larger. And this way I get some majors, we'll get some experience and hopefully get promotions, which will be great going into the next battle. So I think about all of this as I go to camp, and I'm always thinking about the battle after this one. So anyway, I'll see you in the next battle. Thanks.